Hello, and thank you for joining us on For Your Journey. I'm Travis.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Brad.
And today we're talking about joy. Yay!
So the question that was posed for this For Your Journey was based on the theme of the year being Christ in joy, joy in Christ. And the question is, how can I deepen my joy in Christ through this new year?
I think that's a great question. It helps reiterate, the Chief Apostle's theme from the New Year's message that we had in that service. And Mark and Andrew talked about highlighting joy in fellowship, which was part of the last episode For Your Journey. And the last point of that New Year's service from the Chief Apostle was about joy in Christ regarding joy in our daily life. And I think that's a good thing to explore because, obviously we're living day to day, and that's a pattern of, our existence is waking up and going to sleep and waking up, going to sleep, and we have jobs and we have school and we have people we interact with and families. How do we experience the joy of Christ deeper in those situations? And I think just as anything in a new year, a lot of people make resolutions. Did you guys make any New Year's resolutions for 2015?
Sure.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
How this going?
So
far?
It's early.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a little too early to tell. I know the resolutions I always make usually don't fare too well, usually by February, March or so. And I think that's kind of a historically stereotypical pattern for a lot of people, is that it's just very easy to fall into a default and back into a routine, because it takes a conscious effort,
So what's wrong with those resolutions? Is it because they are just surface-based?
Could be. What's an example of a surface-based resolution?
Eating better or exercising more are very popular resolutions.
Yeah, those are usually on my list every year. Exercise more and eat
more broccoli.
More broccoli, eat less chicken nuggets.
Right.
Chicken nuggets.
They're so good though. But usually what my issue has been is they're not specific enough.
Okay.
I need to exercise more, it needs to be more specific. I need to exercise 30 minutes a day. When it's very specific, also putting a number to it makes it measurable. It is something that's realistic. Maybe you've heard that acronym for SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and tangible. It's not saying, I'm going to exercise 20 hours a day. That's not realistic.
Sure.
It's attainable if you did it, but it's not realistic. No one's going to do that. So 30 minutes, making it a measurable, attainable, realistic, tangible goal. I think we can apply that same kind of principle to our spiritual life, and not just talk about resolutions, but move from a resolution that's about intent into a resolve that's about
decision,
action, intentionality. Breaking it that way.
Getting it done.
Getting it done. Yeah, just resolve. It's a next layer of resolution.
So it could also be a vow that someone takes?
Yeah, the confirmation vow itself is a type of resolve, because in it, the confirmants are saying, I renounce Satan. You're saying no to something, that's a resolve.
And deciding for God.
And decide, I renounce Satan, all sorts of things, and surrender myself to you, the surrendering. I'm deciding, I'm resolving, I'm making intentional course of action to surrender myself to you. And then, the next step to make it a SMART goal would be and this is how I'm going to do it. Day to day, and then talk about experiencing the joy of Christ, joy in our daily life.
How do I get there?
That's how we do it. Yeah.
And now we look at what are the things that stand in our way, or what are the barriers for us to experience that joy?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of barriers just in society, in a culture that's kind of popular on pointing out other people's faults.
Sure.
This whole
A lot of gossiping going on.
There's whole reality shows or other commentator shows that they show pictures of celebrities or people, they just point out what they're wearing, and they can't believe that they did this or they did that. We're just pointing out other people's faults.
Or even more in real life. The holidays weren't that long ago. And if you think back to your holiday experience with your friends and loved ones, how much of that time was spent talking about maybe just surface things about other people that had happened in time.
I think another barrier is when reconciliation isn't a point, isn't a factor. So a way to break down that barrier, the barrier is what's preventing from experiencing the joy. To experience more joy, you got to break down that barrier and pursue reconciliation when there's something that needs to be reconciled, which if you don't have anything to reconcile and you're perfect.
Don't let little problems turn into bigger problems.
Right.
Or hold on to a grudge for no reason.
Right. Yeah. I think holding on to grudges, sometimes people feel validated in having negative feelings towards, if I have negative feelings towards Brad because of something he did 10 years ago, like I'm holding a grudge. And it validates, like, I know I should forgive him, but I don't want to because it allows me to give him the cold shoulder or something like that, So I think, gossiping is a barrier. Not forgiving, not reconciling is a barrier.
Another one that ties into judging and gossiping about people is seeing the worst in people. That definitely inhibits joy.
Right. Chief Apostle talked about that last year. Now it's hard to say last year, meaning 2014, at the service in Miami, I believe, that he held here in the United States, about seeing people as Christ sees them, not seeing the worst in them, not seeing them from like a human understanding and a human perspective, but like seeing them as Christ sees them, and that usually should promote a lot less, drama, and promote more reconciliation, promote more love. Christ saw, when you think of like the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4, like everyone culturally saw her as like a woman and from a country we don't talk to those people, and Christ like saw her as a soul that needed love. Like, so when we see people as Christ sees them, that helps us experience that joy in our daily life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from his perspective, everything revolves around love.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, as an answer to our question as to how we can deepen the joy in Christ this year, is instead of making the short-term resolutions, like the ones that help us physically with our body, like eating well,
or even saying like, I want to be nicer to my boss or somebody. Right. That's even more of a short-term, not such a deep resolve as it is a minor change I want to make.
Right. Because as soon as your boss does something that requires you to be more nice, you're like, I wanted to be nice to you, but
you're making it so hard.
So instead of the short-term resolutions, we're going to make ones that are long-term as resolves, long-term resolves.
Long-term resolves, and kind of touching on the point we said about like the physicalness, because that's obviously the world that we live in. Like, that's not a bad thing to have goals for health and for all these things. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, Paul writes, "For bodily exercise profits a little, but godliness is profitable for all things, having promise of the life that now is and of that which is to come." So there's things that are having eternal benefit and repercussions, and things that are just temporary while we're here on earth. So, awesome. Resolve to be joyful, break down those barriers, gossip, and
also rise above discouragement.
Yeah.
Where there will be bad days, where we're certainly, things are not going the way we want them to. We're definitely not happy, but there's a distinct difference between happiness and joy.
Right.
That we can still, even though we're not happy today, we still have the joy of Christ, and that's still something that can be deep within our hearts.
Yeah. I think, the joy of Christ, not like a joy that's future-oriented, like the joy current, present, like our January sermon series, visible, not the visible Christ, is present in the joy we're experiencing together. So, awesome. Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. If you have a suggested topic or question, you can find us on Facebook. Use the hashtag FYJ and submit your question or topic that way. Once again, thanks for joining us. I'm Travis.
And I'm Sarah.
And I'm Brad.
And this has been For Your Journey.